Many people want to be rich, but few understand how the mind creates richness. This idea is at the center of the science of getting rich. It is a reminder that becoming rich is not only about working harder, finding luck, or waiting for the right moment. It is about learning how your thoughts shape your actions, your choices, and your future. Every day, your mind is creating something. It is either creating progress or creating limitation. It is either moving you closer to a rich life or keeping you in the same place. And the truth is simple. Most people never learn how to guide their thinking in a way that builds the life they truly want. Right now, someone with fewer skills or fewer opportunities is becoming rich because they understand how to think in a certain way. And at the same time, many people with great potential stay stuck because they do not yet see the power they already have inside their own mind. So ask yourself, what is your mind creating today? A future of growth or a future that repeats the same struggles? Welcome to Book Play, where we turn powerful books into powerful life changers. If this message speaks to you, remember to like the video and subscribe so you never miss a life-changing lesson from the books that can transform your mindset. Today we explore The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles, a book that shows you how to build a rich mind so you can build a rich life. Jaxon was 24, working as a junior financial analyst at a small investment firm. On paper, it was an ideal role. He could learn about money, investing, and building a stable career. But in reality, it left him feeling stuck. Each day was a blur of spreadsheets, reports, and meetings, and by evening, he often felt exhausted and unsure of what progress he was actually making in his own life. Since college, Jaxon had dreamed of creating his own path, starting a business, building wealth, and gaining freedom, but the routine of office life combined with fear and self-doubt kept him trapped. He watched peers launch startups or invest successfully and felt left behind. Productivity apps, motivational videos, and articles offered temporary relief, but nothing helped him take real, meaningful action. He carried a quiet, persistent question: am I truly capable of creating the life I want? Each day it whispered in his mind, especially during long commutes or late nights at his apartment. Jaxon felt the tension between ambition and inaction. He wanted growth, yet he felt powerless to create it. One Friday afternoon, after a particularly long and stressful day, Jaxon decided to take a detour on his way home. He wandered through streets he rarely explored and found a small, quiet bookstore tucked between two office buildings. The kind of place that smelled faintly of paper and promise. On impulse, he entered. Inside, he wandered past rows of business and self-help books. Then, in a quiet corner near the back, a small, modest book caught his eye. The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles. The plain cover and simple title drew him in. Unlike flashy modern guides, this book didn't promise shortcuts or luck. Its words were practical, clear, and direct, explaining that wealth could be created by anyone who learned to think and act in a certain way. For the first time in months, Jaxon felt a spark of possibility. He realized that for years he had been waiting for circumstances to change instead of learning how to create change himself. That evening he bought the book and took it home. Leaving his laptop closed for once, he opened it on his desk and began reading. Page by page he felt clarity returning, questions that had haunted him. Can I truly create abundance? Am I capable of building wealth? Began to feel like challenges he could face. He imagined a life where his actions aligned with his ambitions, and for the first time, he sensed that he could take control. The experience was subtle, yet profound. Jaxon didn't suddenly become wealthy or free from fear, but he now understood something he hadn't before. Riches begin in the mind long before they appear in life. He realized that learning to think and act in the right way was the first step toward transforming his future. By the end of the evening, Jaxon felt a quiet optimism. The bookstore, the simple book, and the calm night had created a turning point. He had discovered a path, not a shortcut, not a guarantee, but a method he could follow to build the life he truly wanted. And so, cautiously optimistic, he began his journey. Each page he read offered new insights, questions, and hope. Jaxon knew that change would take time, patience, and consistent action. But for the first time in years, he felt he could move forward with purpose. He was beginning to understand that becoming rich was not just about money. It was about cultivating the right mindset, taking intentional action, and creating a life full of purpose and possibility. This moment marked the start of his transformation. And as Jaxon closed the book for the night, he carried with him a sense of clarity he had not known before. The life he wanted to live was not a distant dream. It could begin today, with the thoughts he chose to think and the actions he chose to take. The Science of Getting Rich, written by Wallace D. Wattles in 1910, is a timeless guide to creating wealth through clear thinking, focused intention, and purposeful action. Unlike many modern books that promise instant riches or shortcuts, Wattles' work explains that wealth is the natural outcome of understanding and applying universal principles. It is not about luck, manipulation, or random chance. It is about learning a method, thinking in a certain way, and acting consistently toward your goals. At its core, the book teaches that wealth begins in the mind. Before money can enter your life, your thoughts must be clear, focused, and directed toward creation rather than limitation. Wattles emphasizes that every thought, feeling, and action shapes your results. The people who become truly rich are not necessarily more talented or lucky. They are those who understand how to think in harmony with abundance and act with purpose. Wattles also addresses a common misconception, that wealth is limited. He explains that one person's success does not take away from another's. The world is abundant, full of opportunity, and ready to reward those who understand how to tap into its possibilities. By thinking creatively, focusing on solutions, and taking deliberate steps, anyone can generate wealth. This perspective is liberating for someone like Jaxon, who has spent years feeling stuck in routine, unsure how to move forward. The book is practical, yet deeply philosophical. It teaches readers to combine mental clarity with consistent action. Success is not a product of wishful thinking or idle dreaming. It is the result of applying simple, repeatable principles every day. Wattles breaks down the process into understandable steps, showing that anyone, regardless of age, background, or resources, can cultivate a mindset that attracts wealth and opportunity. For Jaxon, the Science of Getting Rich is more than a guide to making money. It is a map for personal transformation. It gives him the tools to move beyond self-doubt, fear, and frustration. He begins to see that wealth is not just financial. It includes confidence, clarity, purpose, and freedom. By learning to think and act in a certain way, he can create a richer life in every sense. The principles in this book are deceptively simple, yet profoundly powerful. They teach that the mind is the starting point for creation, and that by aligning thoughts, beliefs, and actions, anyone can shape their future. For someone like Jaxon, who has struggled with uncertainty, comparison, and self-doubt, this book is a revelation. It shows him that wealth is not something distant or unattainable. It is something he can learn to create starting now with the choices he makes every day. Reading Wattles, Jaxon begins to understand that becoming rich is not about luck, chance, or shortcuts. It is a science, a methodical process grounded in thought, purpose, and action. The book plants the seeds of transformation in his mind, preparing him for the practical lessons that will guide his journey from stagnation to abundance. In essence, the Science of Getting Rich is a bridge. It connects Jaxon's frustration and unfulfilled potential to a world of opportunity, showing him that true richness begins within, long before it appears in the bank account. As he turns each page, he senses the possibility of a future that is not dictated by circumstance, but created by deliberate, focused thought and purposeful action. Lesson number 1. Think clearly about wealth. To become rich, your mind must focus on creating wealth. Your thoughts guide your actions, and your actions shape your results. Wealth does not appear by chance. It begins with a clear, purposeful mindset where every thought is directed toward creating the life you want. At first, Jaxon struggled to understand this idea. He had always believed that working long hours, following instructions, and waiting for opportunities would bring him success. Yet despite his effort, he felt stuck. Every day felt repetitive, and he often asked himself quietly, "Am I really moving forward, or just running in place?" Wattles' words opened a new perspective. Jaxon began to see that his thoughts were not just passing ideas, they were seeds of his future. If he planted them carefully, nurtured them, and focused on the life he wanted, they would grow into real results. Slowly, he started to practice focusing his mind. Each morning, before opening his laptop or checking emails, he took a few minutes to imagine the life he desired. He pictured financial freedom, meaningful work, creative projects, and confidence in his decisions. He imagined the feelings of satisfaction, freedom, and pride as vividly as if it were happening now. At first, it was not easy. Thoughts of self-doubt, fear, and comparison kept creeping in. He would catch himself thinking, "I'm too young, too inexperienced, too behind." But he learned to notice these thoughts without letting them control him. Instead of dwelling on problems, he chose to focus on possibilities. He pictured himself taking deliberate steps, making the right choices, and seeing results unfold. Over time, this daily practice reshaped his thinking. Hope replaced frustration, clarity replaced confusion, and a quiet determination began to grow inside him. This practice also changed how he approached small, everyday decisions. Before he reacted to circumstances, worrying about deadlines, stressing about reports, or doubting himself. Now, guided by a clear vision, he made choices intentionally, aligning each step with the life he wanted to create. He began to see that wealth was not just money. It was a combination of purpose, confidence, and direction. Each thought became a building block for his future. You can start this today. Take 5 minutes to imagine your ideal life as if it already exists. See the details, feel the emotions, and picture the success and freedom you want. Your mind is the foundation of your wealth. Every decision, action, and opportunity will follow the clarity of your thoughts. Thinking clearly about wealth sets the foundation for everything else. Your mind becomes the blueprint for your future. With this vision in place, Jaxon understood that thinking alone was not enough. To turn possibility into reality, he would need to take purposeful, consistent action, the next step in his journey to true richness. Lesson number 2. Take action every day. Thinking alone is not enough. To become rich, your thoughts must be followed by consistent, purposeful action. Wealth is created not by waiting or wishing, but by doing, taking steps every day toward your goals, no matter how small they seem. After learning to think clearly about wealth, Jaxon realized he needed to move from ideas into action. At first, it was intimidating. The gap between imagining his ideal life and actually doing something to create it felt enormous. He had spent years feeling stuck at his desk, completing tasks he didn't fully care about and waiting for opportunities to appear. Now, the question was, where do I even start? Wattles' guidance helped him understand that action must be deliberate, focused, and creative. It wasn't about being busy or overworking himself. It was about taking meaningful steps that create value and bring him closer to his vision. Jaxon began by identifying small, achievable actions he could take immediately. He focused on completing important tasks at work efficiently, learning new skills, and making connections with people who could inspire or support his growth. At first, progress felt slow. Some days, old habits of procrastination and fear would creep back in, but Jaxon learned to push through. He reminded himself that every small step mattered. Completing even one meaningful action each day built momentum. Slowly, he began to see results. Tasks that once felt overwhelming became manageable. Ideas he had imagined started taking shape, and he felt a growing sense of control over his life. This daily action also built confidence. By showing up consistently, Jaxon started trusting himself more. He realized that he was capable of creating opportunities, solving problems, and moving steadily toward his goals. Action, combined with clear thought, began producing tangible results, reinforcing the lessons he had learned from Wattles. You can start this today. Choose one small step that moves you closer to your goal. It could be sending an email, learning a new skill, or completing a project you've been delaying. Do it deliberately and consistently. Even tiny actions, repeated every day, add up to significant progress over time. Taking action is not about perfection. It is about commitment, persistence, and purpose. Every day you act with intention, you strengthen your confidence, sharpen your focus, and move closer to the life you want to create. Your actions become proof that your thoughts are real, that your vision is possible, and that your wealth, financial, personal, and emotional, can grow steadily. By taking purposeful action each day, Jaxon began to feel a sense of momentum he had never experienced before. He was no longer waiting for luck or external circumstances to change. Instead, he was shaping his life actively, step by step, guided by his vision. This lesson taught him that consistent action transforms thought into reality, and that small, deliberate steps are far more powerful than occasional, overwhelming efforts. And with each day of focused effort, Jaxon started noticing something remarkable. The path to wealth became clearer, obstacles felt smaller, and his confidence grew. He understood that action is the bridge between imagination and reality. Without it, wealth remains a dream. With it, every thought, plan, and intention begins to take shape in the world. Lesson number 3. Give more value than you take. One of the most powerful principles in the science of getting rich is simple. To create lasting wealth, you must give more value than you receive in payment. True abundance comes not from taking, but from creating, helping, and improving the lives of others. For Jaxon, this lesson was both eye-opening and challenging. He'd spent years focused on getting promotions, completing tasks, and making himself visible in the office. His mindset was often about what he could achieve for himself, how he could get ahead, and what rewards he could earn. Wattles' words made him pause. What if giving more, adding more value, could actually bring more success than trying to grab everything for yourself? Jaxon decided to test this principle in his daily life. At work, he started paying closer attention to the needs of his team and clients. Instead of just completing assignments, he asked himself, how can I make this better for them? How can I solve problems before they even arise? He spent time creating more helpful reports, offering suggestions that improved processes, and assisting colleagues without expecting immediate recognition or reward. The results were almost immediate. People noticed his contributions, began trusting him more, and opportunities started to appear. Simple gestures, like sharing insights or helping someone complete a project, led to invitations to take on more meaningful work. Clients responded positively, colleagues sought his advice, and Jaxon started to see that creating value naturally attracts abundance. This lesson also had a personal impact. Giving more value shifted Jaxon's mindset from scarcity to abundance. He no longer focused on competition, fear, or comparison. Instead, he focused on contribution, on creating solutions, and on improving the world around him. The more he gave, the more energy and motivation he had to continue growing. His confidence increased, and he felt a deeper sense of purpose guiding every action. For viewers, this principle is straightforward but transformative. Look for ways today to give more than is expected, whether at work, in personal relationships, or in your community. Offer your time, ideas, or effort freely. Solve problems, add value, and create results that help others succeed. In doing so, you strengthen your own path to wealth, opportunity, and personal growth. Giving more than you take also encourages creativity. When Jaxon focused on how to provide exceptional value, he had to think differently, find new solutions, and innovate. This led to projects and ideas he would not have discovered if he were simply doing the minimum. Value creation became a driving force in his life, guiding both thought and action. By embracing this principle, Jaxon noticed a shift in his environment and in himself. Opportunities seemed to expand, people responded positively, and his work began producing results that went beyond his expectations. He realized that wealth was not just about money. It was about influence, contribution, and the positive impact he could make. The lesson was clear. The more value you give, the more life rewards you. By focusing on contribution rather than personal gain alone, Jaxon learned that wealth flows naturally to those who create, serve, and help others succeed. And as he applied this principle, he began to ask himself, if giving value brings more abundance, how can I combine this with gratitude to amplify my results even further? Lesson number 4. Be grateful. Gratitude is more than a feeling. It is a powerful practice that shapes your mindset and opens the door to abundance. According to Wattles, those who are truly rich in life and wealth cultivate gratitude daily. Appreciation aligns your mind with what you already have and sets the stage for receiving even more. For Jaxon, gratitude was a concept he had heard before, but he never practiced it consistently. He often focused on what he lacked, money, recognition, or opportunities, rather than noticing the positives in his life. His days were filled with stress, comparison, and a quiet frustration that nothing seemed to change. Wattles' words made him pause. What if noticing what I already have could transform my mindset and my results? Jaxon decided to put this principle into practice. Each morning, before starting work, he took a few minutes to reflect on the things he was grateful for. At first it was simple, his supportive family, a steady job, and good health. But as he continued, he began noticing smaller details. A helpful colleague, the freedom to choose his tasks, the skills he had acquired, and even small daily comforts he had ignored. The impact was profound. Gratitude shifted his focus from scarcity to abundance. When he concentrated on what was already good in his life, fear and doubt lost their power. Instead, hope, energy, and creativity filled the space. He began to see opportunities that had previously gone unnoticed, and he approached challenges with confidence rather than anxiety. Gratitude became a lens through which he viewed the world, making every day feel richer and more meaningful. This practice also strengthened his relationships. By acknowledging and appreciating others, Jaxon built trust and goodwill. His colleagues noticed his positive attitude and willingness to value their contributions. Clients responded warmly, and interactions became smoother and more collaborative. Gratitude, he realized, created a ripple effect. The more he appreciated, the more positivity and opportunity returned to him. For viewers, the practice is simple but transformative. Take a few minutes each day to write down or reflect on 3 things you are grateful for. They can be large or small, personal or professional. The key is consistency. Make it a daily habit. Over time, this simple act reshapes your mindset, helping you notice abundance instead of lack. Gratitude also strengthens your focus. When you are grateful, your mind naturally aligns with possibilities and opportunities rather than fear and scarcity. You start to see solutions where others see problems. Your energy, creativity, and motivation increase, making it easier to take purposeful action and give more value to others. By practicing gratitude, Jaxon began to feel richer in every sense, financially, emotionally, and mentally. He realized that wealth was not just money or material success, but a mindset that included appreciation, awareness, and connection. Each day, as he reflected on his blessings, his confidence grew, and he felt ready to pursue the next steps in his journey. Through gratitude, Jaxon learned that abundance flows to those who notice, appreciate, and act from a place of thankfulness. And as he embraced this practice, he naturally began asking himself, If gratitude brings clarity and positivity, how can I combine it with focus and persistence to truly transform my life? Lesson number 5. Keep going, even when it's hard. Success and wealth rarely come without challenges. Wattles emphasizes that persistence is essential. Those who keep going, even when faced with difficulties, are the ones who ultimately achieve abundance. Obstacles are not signs to stop. They are opportunities to strengthen focus, resilience, and determination. For Jaxon, persistence was one of the hardest lessons. Early in his journey, he faced setbacks and frustrations that tested his resolve. Tasks at work piled up, clients were slow to respond, and sometimes his efforts seemed to go unnoticed. The old doubts returned. Am I really capable? Is this worth it? For a moment he considered giving up, returning to the familiar comfort of routine and predictability. But Wattles' teaching reminded him that stopping would guarantee no progress. Wealth in any form requires consistent effort, even when it feels challenging or slow. Jaxon decided to commit to his vision with renewed determination. Each day he set small goals, focused on purposeful action, and refused to let setbacks derail him. He reminded himself that each challenge was temporary, but the habits and skills he built through persistence would last a lifetime. Persistence changed Jaxon's mindset. He no longer viewed obstacles as threats, but as signals to refine his approach and strengthen his resolve. When a project at work became complicated, instead of giving up, he broke it into manageable steps, addressed each part methodically, and celebrated small wins along the way. Every time he overcame a difficulty, his confidence grew, reinforcing the belief that he was capable of creating the life he wanted. For viewers, this lesson is simple yet powerful. Set clear goals and commit to taking daily, focused steps toward them. When challenges arise, don't retreat or give in to frustration. Treat difficulties as part of the process, temporary hurdles that will make you stronger and wiser. Even small actions repeated consistently will compound into significant progress over time. Persistence also builds character and credibility. People notice those who stay committed and deliver results, even under pressure. Jaxon found that colleagues and clients began trusting him more because of his consistent effort and reliability. His actions created a positive reputation, opening doors that would have remained closed to someone who gave up at the first sign of difficulty. Through this lesson, Jaxon realized that persistence is not about brute force or endless struggle. It is about steady, thoughtful effort combined with faith in your vision. By keeping going, even when it's hard, he discovered the power of resilience, self-belief, and disciplined action. Each day of consistent effort brought him closer to his financial, personal, and emotional goals. As he embraced persistence, Jaxon began to see that challenges were no longer obstacles, but opportunities. He understood that wealth is not simply about luck or circumstance. It is built by those who keep moving forward, even when the path is difficult. And as he continued, he naturally began asking himself, if persistence strengthens my journey, how can I combine it with clarity, gratitude, and focused action to reach my fullest potential? Lesson number 6. See your future clearly. Visualization is one of the most powerful tools in creating wealth. Wattles teaches that seeing your future clearly in your mind is essential for turning dreams into reality. When you imagine your goals in detail, your mind aligns your actions, decisions, and energy toward making them real. For Jaxon, this lesson became a turning point. After learning to think clearly, take action, provide value, practice gratitude, and persist, he realized there was one piece missing: a vivid picture of the life he truly wanted. Previously, his vision had been hazy. He knew he wanted success, but he hadn't clearly defined what it looked like. Without a clear image, action alone felt directionless. He began to practice visualization each morning. He imagined himself working on projects he loved, earning the income he desired, and living with freedom and confidence. He pictured the feelings of satisfaction, pride, and security that came with achieving his goals. Every detail mattered. the environment, the people he interacted with, and even the emotions he would feel. This mental rehearsal made his vision tangible and real in his mind, even before it existed in his reality. At first, the process felt strange. It was easier to focus on worries and obstacles than to see a clear future. But Jaxon persisted, using Wattles' guidance to shift his attention from fear to clarity. Over time, he noticed subtle changes. Decisions that once seemed difficult became simpler because he could judge them against his clear vision. Opportunities that aligned with his goals became more apparent, and he felt more confident taking action in alignment with that vision. Visualization also reinforced his belief in possibility. When he saw himself succeeding in detail, he began to feel deserving and capable. He realized that wealth is not just about effort or luck. It is about aligning thought, feeling, and action with a clear goal. Seeing the future clearly gave him direction, focus, and energy, making every step forward purposeful. For viewers, this practice is simple and powerful. Take a few minutes each day to picture your ideal life as vividly as possible. Include the details, the feelings, and the results you want to experience. Let this vision guide your choices and actions. The more clearly you see your future, the easier it becomes to make decisions and take steps that bring it closer to reality. As Jaxon continued this practice, he began to notice remarkable results. His work became more focused, his creativity increased, and his confidence soared. He acted with intention in every area of life because he had a clear image of what he wanted. This clarity made his journey toward wealth not only possible, but exciting and purposeful. By seeing his future clearly, Jaxon understood that wealth is not only about money, it is about designing a life that fulfills him emotionally, mentally, and financially. Each day, guided by a vivid vision, he moved closer to the life he had imagined. And as he embraced this principle, he naturally asked himself, if I can see my future clearly, how can I continue to take deliberate steps each day to make it real? After months of learning, practicing, and applying the lessons from the science of getting rich, Jaxon began to notice a profound transformation in his life. The frustration and uncertainty that had once filled his days were replaced with clarity, confidence, and a sense of purpose. He realized that wealth was no longer a distant dream. It was becoming his reality, step by step, thought by thought, and action by action. The journey had not been easy. Jaxon had faced moments of doubt, setbacks, and fear, but each lesson built on the last, creating a foundation for real change. Thinking clearly about wealth had given him focus. Taking consistent action had turned ideas into tangible progress. Giving more value than he received had opened doors and strengthened relationships. Practicing gratitude had shifted his mindset from scarcity to abundance. Persistence had taught him resilience, and visualizing his future clearly had provided direction and purpose. Each lesson had been a stepping stone, shaping not just his financial path, but his mindset, habits, and confidence. Jaxon's transformation was visible in every part of his life. At work, he approached projects with focus and creativity. His colleagues and clients began noticing his dedication and the value he consistently delivered. Opportunities he had never imagined before started to appear, and he felt ready to take them on with enthusiasm. Beyond work, his mindset had changed. He no longer compared himself to others or feared setbacks. Instead, he saw challenges as opportunities to learn and grow. Gratitude and clarity gave him a sense of peace even amid uncertainty. This transformation shows the power of combining thought, action, value, gratitude, persistence, and clear vision. Wealth is not just money. It is the result of alignment between what you think, how you act, and the value you create in the world. By following these principles, Jaxon discovered that he could shape his life intentionally rather than leaving it to chance. For you, the viewer, the lesson is clear. Transformation is possible when you apply these principles consistently. Start by thinking clearly about what you want. Take deliberate action every day. Focus on creating value, practice gratitude, persist through challenges, and visualize your future with detail and purpose. These steps, repeated over time, will change not only your financial life, but your confidence, mindset, and sense of possibility. Jaxon's story is a reminder that no matter your age, experience, or current situation, you can begin building the life you desire today. Small, consistent steps lead to lasting results. Every thought, choice, and action is a building block. The more intentional and aligned they are with your vision, the closer you move toward wealth, freedom, and fulfillment. As Jaxon looks back on his journey, he feels a deep sense of pride and excitement. He knows he is still growing, still learning, and still creating new opportunities. But he also knows that the foundation he has built is strong. He now approaches life with confidence, purpose, and a sense of abundance. He has learned that wealth is not only achievable, it is the natural result of applying the right principles consistently. And now, as you reflect on Jaxon's journey, ask yourself, if he can transform his life with focus, action, value, gratitude, persistence, and vision, what steps can I take today to start building the life I want? The path is clear, and the opportunity is yours to seize. Take a moment to consider one step you can take immediately, clarifying your goals, taking a small action, giving more value, or practicing gratitude. Even tiny, consistent steps will compound into meaningful change over time. Remember, wealth is not just money. It is the mindset, habits, and actions that shape your life. By applying these lessons, you have the power to create a future filled with confidence, freedom, and purpose. If this message resonates with you, take time to reflect on what stood out most and how you can implement it in your own life. And to continue learning life-changing lessons from the world's most powerful books, make sure to like this video and subscribe to Book Play. Your next step toward growth and transformation could start right here, right now.